And what they tell us is if we do not act boldly in the next few years, this planet of ours, our only planet, will be between 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it is today by the end of the century. And what that means, picture what it means: more drought, more flood, more extreme weather disturbances, more rising sea levels, more acidification of the ocean, more international conflict as people fight for limited resources of water and land. Our moral responsibility is to lead the world, work with China, work with Russia, work with India, to move our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And when we talk about issues facing our country, please understand that we remain the only major country on earth that does not guarantee health care as a right to all people. The Affordable Care Act has made some progress, but 35 million still have no health insurance, and more are underinsured with high deductibles and high copayments. It is my view that health care is a right for all people. And that is why I believe we must move toward a Medicare for all single-payer program. I am the ranking member of the Budget Committee, which means I lead the Democrats in opposition. And let me tell you a word. It's important that you know what the priorities are of the Republican Party. During the budget process, what they passed was a budget which recommends to the appropriation committees to throw 27 million people off of health insurance. And when you ask them what happens to those people who no longer can get the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid, how many will die? How many will suffer? How many will end up in the hospital when they should not have to be there? Their answer basically is, we don't care. At a time when families cannot afford to send their kids to college, they cut Pell Grants by $90 billion over a 10-year period. At a time when families are struggling to put food on the table, half the kids in public schools are on free or reduced lunch programs, they made billions of dollars in cuts in nutrition programs. We have got to tell the Republicans and their corporate sponsors that those are not the priorities of the American people. We are not going to cut Social Security. We are going to expand Social Security. We are not going to cut benefits for veterans. We're going to make sure that every veteran gets the health care and benefits that they're entitled to. What this campaign is about is bringing people together for a political revolution. It means that while we may have differences of opinion on this or that issue, it is imperative that all of us stand together for our kids and our parents and create a nation in which everybody lives in dignity. And when we talk about everybody, that must include 11 million undocumented people in this country. These people can no longer live in the shadows, can no longer be exploited, can no longer have their families divided. We need comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. All of you know that this world is a crazy and dangerous world. We see horror after horror. We see what ISIS does. We see what the barbarity, the conflicts, people getting blown up all over the world. And nobody, I can assure you, has a magical answer to solving these issues. The other day, I talked to the president about his proposal to bring forth a process for Iran not to be able to get a nuclear weapon, but to do it without going to war. I am the former chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the cost of war. I learned that recently, just recently, in Afghanistan and Iraq, we lost 6,700 brave men and women. I learned and met with men, women came home without limbs, without arms, without eyesight, without hearing. I spoke to some of the 500,000 people who came home with PTSD or traumatic brain injury. The cost of war is real. It is terrible. I believe that war should be the last resort, not the first resort.